Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Mile High Game Guys Board Gaming Podcast. I'm your host, Adrian.
I'm Zach.
I'm Jeff.
And joining us again for this review episode is David. Welcome back, David.
Yes, it's been so long.
It's been just an incredibly long time.
It's been like at least 48 hours.
Yep,
since
days and days.
Someone may have listened to that other episode.
Yes. So we just had a nice little break between the main episode and the review episode, where hip hop air horns were
the
downloaded.
apps. Do we need to? Do we need them now?
You guys don't actually need to play them because I have the sound files of all of that other stuff. I'll just edit it in.
I mean, but David led us to some free apps that
are
fantastic.
breaking my will to live.
John Cena was involved.
Yes.
It was good times. Good times.
You didn't want to spend $1 on Damn Daniel, though.
Damn, Daniel.
I mean, it's out of date. Do you really want to date yourself like that?
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Never date yourself. That's the first show note.
Never use old memes. Second show note.
Mm-hmm.
Never use old memes. N-U-O-M.
Nuom.
We've created that.
That is ours now.
Trademark.
All right.
Enjoy that on Twitter with no context.
Hashtag Nuam.
Nuam.
All right. Well,
I don't know if we can actually use that or not.
Probably not.
I sincerely apologize to everyone who's having to listen to this.
Half of us aren't drinking. We don't know why this is happening.
Yeah, I know, right? The two sober people are two of the most ridiculous about it.
Yep. Well, because it's funny.
It is. I am not arguing there.
All right, well, this is a review episode. You wouldn't
guess.
know that from the first 2 minutes of the episode, but this is indeed a review episode. We are going to be reviewing Eldritch Horror, the board game.
John Seifert.
I was expecting it. I was waiting for it.
Eldritch Horror, the board game, versus Eldritch Horror, the
It's not a versus.
childhood play place. I don't.
I don't know.
It's like a Chuck E. Cheese, but it's Eldritch Horror. I'd go
Ball
there.
Pit.
I mean, I don't know if you'll ever... I mean, there's Discovery Zone, but there's the lesser one, Leaps and Bounds, and the even lesser known one, Eldritch Horror.
Yep.
Yes.
It's not a ball pit, it's just a tentacle pit.
Yeah.
No, that's a...
It's for 18 plus.
Yes. Only anime is allowed
Yes.
in
Yep.
the Eldritch Horror ball pit / tentacle pit.
All right, so Eldritch Horror is a 2013 release from designer Corey Knizia and Nikki Valens. A whole bunch of different artists involved, and it was published by Fantasy Flight Games here in the States. It plays 1 to 8 players and takes 120 to 240 minutes. Zach, do you have a rules breakdown for us?
Yes.
As soon as he stops laughing about player counts.
Sorry, yeah. 8, 5, no. 100 times no. In Eldritch Horror, you will be working with other investigators to save the world from the arrival of one of the great old ones. Each round, your team will be trotting across the globe to solve mysteries and stop the end of the world. You will be gaining allies, weapons, trinkets, spells, blessings, and services to help in your fight. But watch out, because lying in the corners of the world are beings who would love to give you injuries, hallucinations, poisons, debts, dark pacts, get you lost in time and space, make you go insane, or just plain old murder. Many locations around the world can help boost your abilities to make you smarter and stronger, as well as expeditions to give you a chance at powerful artifacts, and gates leading to other worlds, allowing you access to forbidden knowledge. At the end of each round, the otherworldly forces fight back, spawning new monsters and clues, rumors that need to be resolved, and events to keep the investigators constantly on edge. If the doom track counts down to 0, the Great Old One awakens, bringing all but the most seasoned opponents to its knees, assuming it has some, could just be tentacles. Complete all 3 mysteries before the Old One appears, or defeat it once it awakens, and you have saved the world. All other outcomes are not for the faint of heart.
So you're saying the Ancient Ones are basically Octodad?
Yeah, pretty
Okay,
much.
all right.
I know Octodad's a game. That's about all I know.
It's an octopus in a suit.
Yeah,
so
pretending
his,
to be a
his,
dad.
his legs are tentacles.
It's that same genre of game as like Surgeon Simulator, where it's just purposely obtuse with the controls. So you just
wobbly.
you do goofy shit, and you're like, that was funny.
Yep.
Because it's an octopus.
It's also 4-player co-op. Each person controls an
Oh,
arm
Jesus
and
Christ.
leg.
Fuck all that.
Yeah. We should play that sometime. Anyway,
When we get that
Eldritch.
Twitch streaming going.
Yes. Anyway, the real Eldritch horror is not Octodad.
Yes.
He has 2 kids. It's weird.
All right.
And a loving wife.
Yes.
Yep.
Amazingly. So,
Is it that strange for an octopus to find love?
yes.
They're smart enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't have
They can fit
feelings.
through a size of a quarter hole. So
They can fit through anything that is small enough to fit their beak through.
yeah.
That's your fun fact.
All right. Well, so anyhow, back to Eldritch Horror.
Yes.
I want to hear more octopus facts.
Congratulations, you have signed up to Octopus Facts.
Hashtag unsubscribe.
So, does anyone remember, like, out of their thoughts going into their first plays of Eldritch?
I think I'll start here.
Okay.
As someone that has played an incredible amount of Arkham Horror, I went into knowing this is kind of Arkham Horror 2 and wanted nothing but to love everything about this game, and I needed it immediately.
Okay. David, do you happen to remember? Or it might have been a while.
Well, it was a while, and it was also one of the it was one of the first longer games that I really got into after picking up board gaming as a hobby. So I was kind of just I knew that I liked the Cthulhu mythos, and I was mostly just interested to try it out because I had not really developed any kind of sense of what I actually liked in board games at that point. So I was cautiously optimistic.
Right on. Zach?
Pretty much the same. I don't know if I'd played a Cthulhu. I'm maybe like Munchkin Cthulhu was the only Cthulhu game I played before that, and I wasn't really familiar with the Cthulhu one. Other than I know that Cthulhu is the name of the thing with the but it seemed interesting, and it was definitely a longer game, and I was like, ooh, I want to try. I want to get deeper into these heavier games, and so it seemed like a good place to start.
Right on. Mine's pretty similar. I pretty sure it was probably the first Cthulhu game I'd played. I think there's maybe some, like, in Munchkin Armageddon, there's some Cthulhu references, but I don't think I'd really...
Munchkin Apocalypse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think there's really any other particular Cthulhu game that I had played. I don't think I'd played Mansions before I played Eldritch for the first time.
I did not either.
I remember actually kind of being excited. This was kind of the same thing as David. Like, it was back before I knew what I really liked in games, when I was young and naive. And, like, I know it was your copy, Zach. And, you know, it had just so much stuff. Like, it was one of the first games that was like, wow, like, that's a lot of things in a game. Like, setting up, you know, taking like an hour. It's like,
One of the first forays into Fantasy Flight's big games.
yes.
All the cards, all the dice.
You fools.
Yes.
It all shows up in a trench.
Yes.
Yep.
A trough.
Yeah. I want to say Arkham Horror was one of the first big thematic games I ever played.
Okay.
And that was 2009. Yeah.
So that was kind of my thoughts going into Eldritch Horror. Components. Your game that you have, Zach, that we just played is mostly base components. I mean, you got a lot of expansion stuff in there, and like your dice aren't base components.
No, so the game comes with 5 small little black dice that are garbage.
Are they just D6s?
Yeah, they're just D6s.
Are they the mini dice?
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe slightly
Ew.
big. I don't know, but like
Not a standard D6
not a
size.
standard size one. And so I think I played one game with that, and I was like, okay,
No more.
no more. Especially because there was already a time when I had to roll like 6 dice, and I'm like, but it only came with 5.
Was it as bad as Twilight Imperium dice?
Did that? I don't remember.
It came with standard black dice or black D8s.
Because
Yeah.
Bob's copy only has like other dice and shit like that.
Yeah.
But so I spent $60 on Arkham Horror themed dice that were also cursed and blessed as well, so that it could, if you're blessed, you can just use the blue ones and stuff like that. Yeah, that's what they look like.
Those aren't good dice.
No.
Nope.
I spent more than the game on those dice, and it was definitely a good purchase.
Those are some fine dice.
Yeah.
Yes. So we'll talk about expansion stuff
Yep.
later. So we'll come back and touch on those. So base set dice suck. I don't think I ever played with those. I think the first time I played, you already had gotten your new dice.
Yep.
Immediately replaced.
Yes.
The board itself is huge,
And
but
it's
good.
apparently too complicated for Adrian to open.
Well, I'm gun shy about. I'm terrified of unfolding any board of yours ever since I ripped Dominant Species in half.
Yep.
Like,
That's the way it bends, right?
yeah. So ever since then, I have an irrational fear of tearing another one of Zach's boards in half. So I just I'll try, and if it doesn't go the way I expect, I just set it down and step away.
What you're saying are boards are terrifying to you.
Yes.
Okay.
It's my one fear in life.
That's the Eldritch horror.
That's the real Eldritch horror right
Yeah.
there.
Boards from beyond the fold.
Yeah, so the board's solid. It's got good art. It's a world map. It looks very map-like. It's got it looks like an old 1920 style
Yes,
kind of
yes,
map.
yes,
yes.
That's what I'm saying.
A little bit.
It either looks stained because somebody actually spilt water on it or something, or I can't remember if it actually is supposed to look like that or not. So
It's been played.
Yeah.
Well used.
The game comes with a ton of cards.
yep.
Some of them are small, little, tiny cards.
Most of them.
Most of them. Fewer bigger, full-size cards, but they're standard Fantasy Flight quality.
Yep.
All good quality.
And this one continues the Cthulhu style trend where it's like you have a card, especially the smaller ones, they'll have a it'll say it's this spell, and there's 10 different copies of that spell, but the backs are different on each one of those.
I think Mansions of Madness started that.
Yeah, yeah. And I really like those. I really like when they started doing that because you grab it helps it because you can grab a new one and you don't know what's on the other side.
It's never the same card.
Exactly.
It's it's rack, but could be one of 5 different spell things that could happen when you flip it over. So
I
it's
like it when for the injuries and the deaths and that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So because if they didn't have that, you'd be like, oh, I know what this is going to be. But a dark pack could be
murder. You're
Yeah.
dead.
You
dead.
die.
You're
Yep.
dead, or you have to murder someone else. Stuff like that.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. Or I had the one Promise of Power in our most recent game where I flipped it over and it was get rid of all negative conditions
From everybody.
From everybody.
Oh, that's nice.
And something else that was pretty good, but no one else had anything. It was just me. It was all right, well, I get rid of my 4 negative conditions and resolve a couple other things. That was awesome. And then I got another one later and we ended up losing before I got to use it. Well, I died before I got to use it. So I flipped it over and looked at it and it was significantly less awesome. It was oh yeah, this Promise of Power was bullshit. You were betrayed.
Yeah.
Thing. It wasn't that much, but that's the kind of feeling you get is that sometimes you actually they deliver on their promise. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes your healing spell heals really well. Sometimes not so much.
Not so hot.
Yeah.
So I agree. I like that a whole lot on the components. The different backs for some of those cards.
There are a lot of components in general. The wonderful sanity and health tokens, the Eldritch, I don't know, stuff is happening on this space on the board. It looks
Eldritch tokens. One. Yeah.
You can get positive, negative stat breaks.
the
Negatives
states-
are an expansion. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you can get positive stats,
Yeah.
and then you can get negative stats because of why didn't they put that in the base game? Of course they would. Clues are a little different. They're double-sided depending on where they spawn, so they don't always spawn in the same spots.
Yep.
And
It still has-
the clues are also used for any kind of random in the game as well.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. Spawn one here randomly, and you just choose a clue, and that's where it goes.
Yeah.
So.
The monster tokens, good.
Yep.
Nice heavy cardboard, double-sided. Player tokens are the same standee-esque ones. The only thing I don't like is the standees always seem to be too tight because after a lot of playthroughs, they'll start to ruin the bottom of the standee.
I didn't notice that so much in your.
Well, it's also I don't
Copy.
keep them in there. So because I have so many.
Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, putting them in the standee, so I know, that was the case in Rebellion, especially, you feel like you're ruining it when you put it in that little plastic base.
Yeah.
You have to jam it in there.
They hold
Yours
onto them
felt
tight.
like they went in pretty
Most of them do. Yeah.
easy and held well.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen 2 copies. I've seen yours, Zach, and my friend Dan and Becky's, but theirs is also fine. I don't feel like it's tearing up the bottom.
Yeah.
Certainly not like Star Wars Rebellion did.
Arkham Horror had a real bad problem with that.
Gotcha.
Also, you were supposed to put all the monsters in standees.
Oh, yeah.
As
you don't-
well.
You only do that
Do
for
that.
the epic ones.
Yep.
Yeah, but we just didn't do that and just laid them flat.
No, that makes sense. Yeah.
Character cards, nice double-sided, lots of fluff in there
Yep.
about your characters and the horrible murder reasons.
And
that
then I
they're
like,
in.
and I really like that if your character dies, you still get to do one final encounter with them to get their stuff that they were holding. So it's
Yeah.
not like it's lost.
And it's variable between whether they died from physical damage or mental damage. Sometimes you'll have to do rolls or tests, see how you interact with them and how their story ends up.
Some of the physical ones are much more bright than the insanity ones.
Yeah.
The insanity ones are kind of depressing.
Yeah.
But otherwise, components, base stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good.
The cards are easy to understand. All the iconography for when you have to do a test is easy because, it's like, oh, you have to do an influence and it says -1, so you take one die away and then you just, you roll.
Yeah, they're clearly marked on your player board what your levels are at. Mm-hmm. I don't think I really have any, aside from apparently the dice, which I don't have experience with, but I'll take you guys' word for it. Aside from that, I can't think of any really things that stand out as negative for the components.
I would just say the lack of encounter cards. So this is just talking base game. Each location only had 8 cards in the base game, which means that if it was a location you visited a decent amount, you could see the same encounter in the first game you play, which is pretty ridiculous.
And I think the general rule is you're just supposed to shuffle it back into the deck each time an encounter is over, so you could get them back to back.
Oh, really?
I believe so.
Oh, well, that's
I've
stupid.
never played that way.
Yeah.
One thing that
because
feel
if you're at a different location of that same color, you want to have a chance to get that other encounter.
No, I understand that, but still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think having more is good. And the very first expansion they had, the Forsaken lore, was just more of everything. And I would almost say if you're buying the game now, just get that and Forsaken lore so you just have more.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the base one only came with, I feel it was 4 mysteries, so you didn't have much variety when you were playing the same great old one. Where now, like you said, Forsaken lore added 2 to each of them, and all subsequent ones they had the same 6 amount. So it was, you had more variety when it was coming to that. So it felt like it was a complete game for those component wise with Forsaken lore. So
okay.
Yeah. So I think that pretty well sums up components.
Mm-hmm.
They're all pretty good.
Yeah.
A lot of variability.
Yep.
Yeah. Rules and rules explanation. I feel like every time I've played, you've had to basically reteach me the game.
Yeah, well, it's always been a while.
Recently, it's been a very long time. But even before that, there's still a lot going on in this game.
Yeah, no, there's a ton of stuff going on, and as you add new expansions, they can add new mechanics that weren't there before. And I know some of the expansions added... I played most of my plays pre-expansions that added focus as an action, so I always forget that focus is a thing you can do.
Yep.
And usually halfway through the game... Usually halfway through the game is when I remember, oh, yes, I could focus, and then I'd start doing it.
Right. Mm. Yeah, I think especially because the great old ones, they all play somewhat differently, but then also if you are playing with one that uses, because the expansions, the big box expansions added sideboards if you play with a specific old one. It's like if you decide to randomly draw a great old one, and you draw that one, you're like, oh, okay, well, this map works in this specific way or something like that. So it can't always be a little bit of, okay, so this is the scenario we're playing. This is what's different. This is what's the same. You can't just be like, surprise, it's this, and let's just start.
Yeah.
But I think all the actions you can do it's not that complicated.
Do each of them once.
Yeah, you can do each of them once. But it's just like, oh, you move. You can only move once. If you have train tickets, you can move. Or if you have tickets. Assuming you're moving on the same line, you can move extra. It's like, do you want to do an action on a card, or do you want to trade with somebody, or rest, or something like that? But I think,
buy new cards.
Yeah.
Well, especially though when you're teaching a new person, you can only do 2 things on your turn, but there's 8 things to choose from.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you kind of have to go over all the different things. Some of them, like you said, are pretty self-explanatory, like movement stuff. But then in this one, knowing, going through even when you stop in one place, you get. There's 4 different stacks of cards that you're going to get, and then you're going to have to resolve based on where you are.
What else is on there?
Yeah.
Do you have to fight? Because there's going to be a lot of cardboard on this board.
Yeah.
A lot of tokens. Gates, monsters, clues. What's the artifact? Expeditions.
Yeah. I could definitely, if there was a whole group of people learning it at once, that does not seem ideal.
Yeah, that would be rough.
Someone watch some videos first.
But if one person knows how to play, then it's going to go smoothly, I feel. Especially because it's cooperative.
Yeah.
That person can be like, oh, okay, well, this means this and this and this.
You could give them the base rundown, and then as stuff happens, you'd be like, well, okay, well, in this specific situation, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have choice.
Yes.
It's I don't want to experience the Himalayas. I want to be an expedition, and it depends on your mystery and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's way easier to learn this game if someone has played it before or is well versed in the rule book, because there are a lot of interesting questions that can come up.
Yeah, and and it's basically for on par for Fantasy Flight heavy thematic longer games where there's a bunch, especially anything that's heavily card based. There's a bunch of little minutia of in this instance this card means this, where it's like you have the base of the rules is fine, but then you have all these little just instances of in this case.
What color is the omen on right now?
Yeah,
and that's the only kind of like thing you have to check all the time.
Now, how does it compare to Arkham Horror? Because, like you said, this is supposed to be like a more streamlined Arkham Horror 2.
I think pretty much top to bottom, it is much more streamlined. There are far less locations and things like that are on this board. Like you said, the decks are only like 8 cards each, and then there are only a certain amount of color, like 3 different color decks that you can draw from. Arkham Horror base set, as I pull up an image here of the
it's a ton. I've seen
nightmare like component rack that you need for Arkham Horror.
Well, it's like you said, the gates, or the other worlds, there was one for each different one, right?
So there's 9 different event decks just for the colors. The portal deck, it is one deck, but you just keep drawing until you get the one that you're at.
Oh, okay.
The Mythos deck can be, I don't know, about 8 inches deep of all of the different expansions.
It's ludicrous.
It like all the item decks are in 3 different decks. All the spells are in different decks. The allies are different decks. It's just an incredible amount of cards. You have to spend a lot more time in portals and stuff like that. It's not just sort of an event that happens. All of the only thing I do kind of miss is all of the different spaces in Arkham Horror can have different actions you can do on them, where this is pretty generally not that at all. You'll go to those different areas and you can get sort of themed, like spells are in this kind of area, etc. But there's not specific actions you can do there. Like, I'm going to go here and heal. I'm going to go here and heal sanity, because there's not really a rest action in Arkham Horror. And there's a lot of, you can be stuck on certain spaces that don't give you any events at all. It's like, I'm in the French Hills, but I'm not on an event space, so I just sort of stand here and don't get an event this turn.
Oh, okay.
Because there'll be 3 spaces and then the like name space. So you go to the French Quarter and then or French Hill, and then you go to like one of the blue spaces,
okay,
like the Silver Twilight Lodge or something like that. It's much easier to learn. The combat is much cleaner.
You're talking about for Eldritch?
For Eldritch, yeah. I don't think there's anything worse about Eldritch Horror from Arkham Horror. There's some things I miss, but overall, I think it's a much better, more streamlined game. Besides some certain like nitpicking on organizational things that you really need to do, but besides that, it's better.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I think that kind of covers rules and stuff. So gameplay. It's a Fantasy Flight heavy thematic game. Like, if you are going to play this game, you need to play with people who are going to buy into that theme.
Yes.
Like in this case, like the Cthulhu mythos kind of thing. Like, you got to kind of get into like, yeah, you're going to go mad.
You're going to go mad. The game's unfair. You're just going to get shit on the entire time. Your character can die easily. And like the last game that we played, after my first character died, my second character was an orphan, a street urchin. And the first thing I tried to do was sneak past these cultists, because she had a talent that was elusive, that was like, oh, if you succeed observation, you can do an encounter there as if there are no monsters.
On a bunch of dice.
I rolled, I failed, and then the cultists immediately beat me to death.
Yeah. I went through 3 characters in our game. It is absolutely brutal.
There's definitely a lot of randomness in this game.
Yeah, you're tossing a lot of dice.
There's a lot of dice. There's a lot of cards. When you're building the Mythos deck, it's technically different for each great old one, but it's just that determines how many of the rumor ones or the yellow cards or the green cards. And each of those cards, there are not versions, but there are ones with white sides, which are like easy, nothing, which is normal, and then like tentacles, which is hard. And so
some of those tentacles are real pains in the ass.
Yep.
Especially if you don't thin it out at all and just be like random.
I mean, that's what quote unquote normal is you just have everything there. You can technically try and stack it if you want, But
Fuck that.
yeah,
Yeah, I think especially with how many expansions you own, you might have to do a bit of culling or
Yeah.
well, so
Curating.
there's only one card that if I didn't throw it away, the next time I see it, I'm going to. It's one where it just says shuffle a solved mystery back into the
Yep. Fuck that card.
yeah.
just like, I remember when you were 1/3 done with this game, put that third just right back in the game.
Yep.
Yep.
No, that one is no good.
Too hard.
Yeah.
It's like the other ones are hard, but that one is just extending. Like that's just making it hard. Like it's the retreating progress. Like
Yes.
that should be the only thing.
By an extreme measure.
Yeah, that the mystery deck. Like once you solve one, that should be it. You shouldn't be like, oh no, you just have to keep doing more. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think one of the first times we played, that card actually came out, and we were all like, what the fuck?
I'm pretty sure I was just like, no, we're just getting another card.
Yeah. Yeah. That every time that's come up, that's what happens. So we're just like, no.
No. This game's hard enough as it is. We don't
fuck you,
need
game.
this bullshit.
Yeah, Arkham had a ton of those kind of cards that were like just insanely brutal rumors that were like, there's no way we can possibly do this. And then it's like, all right, then everyone at the end of this rumor that we can't solve goes to 1 health and 1 sanity, and you lose all your items, and then now complete the game. Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know there's one of the rumors in here that it's like if you don't succeed at it, like if you let it go down, then you just straight up lose the game. Like that's it. Nope, you're done.
over.
But that one, like that's fine. It's just that one card where I don't think it feels like you had to spend a shitload of clues in order to stop the mystery thing. But it's just this bullshit.
Yeah.
Yep.
And a game that's so unfair, even that it's a tentacle too far.
So, kind of going back, like, not only is there all the randomness from the dice and some of those bullshitty card draws, we were talking about, like, one of the things we do like, but that does add a lot more randomness is even when you get, like, spells, like, you don't know whether your spell, like, it might have been good the last 3 times, but this time you got it,
You didn't
it might
get enough-
be bad.
You'll cast a spell, and how many successes you got, flip over, and it's like you got 0 successes, bad things happen. You got 1 success, maybe even worse things happen. 2+ successes, maybe something even worse happens to them.
Yeah.
And then flip this card or discard this card.
Yeah, or sometimes like discard this card and take another of that spell. Like, so like, you do the healing and this time it works great. And then you get a new healing spell. Next time you go to cast healing, it's like everything blew up in your face and you are dying.
And that's where kind of the organization complaint I have comes from this, where it's super hard to like take another of that healing spell. Let me go through this whole
spend
deck.
so much time digging through decks in this game.
Yes.
It definitely does kind of slow down the gameplay.
Yeah, a little bit.
Like take a unique item artifact that needs these specific conditions, and then you're going through the whole deck trying to find that one card that you need.
Yeah.
It's cool that they'll call out those cards because there are a ton of unique items in this game. There's very little duplicate, except for some of those like dual-faced, like random event cards, event items. But having to search through those needs some sort of, I don't know. This is a game where an aftermarket organizer could be amazing because you can shuffle out all of those decks and kind of have like nice little deck boxes, and this is where all the tokens go, and this is where all that kind of the incantation spells and the ritual spells and glamour spells.
I think one reason they did that is because, like in Arkham and stuff, you had all of these different decks that it is just like, well,
it was just items, unique items, spells, and it's just like dump. Like this is everything.
Yeah, and so because everything's in one pile and it's supposed to be mixed up, it's like draw an injury condition and you're supposed to draw from the bottom, so it's like you don't know if you're going to be getting a back injury or a leg injury or like you're getting poisoned or something like that. So
but then you have to separate out all the injury cards versus the condition cards versus this versus that.
Yeah. No, and then like spells, like there's like physical spells, there's like incantations, there's
incantations, rituals, and glamour. I love what they do with that, where it's like to just draw from the bottom, just get a spell, just get the one off the bottom. But it needed some more thought into how you're actually supposed to play this on a table. That isn't like a 10x6 table or something insane.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cards, and that's my only big complaint about this game is it's a little too hard to organize without some major forethought. Especially with how many expansions you have that have added a lot more.
The
The biggest problem is that item deck that is just colossal, and you'll just have to go through there too much.
Yeah.
Because in Arkham, it was just like, draw an item, just whatever the top one is. But in this one, it's like...
Especially because everybody starts with unique things.
Yeah, everyone starts with unique things, and it's like search through there for like the first item that comes up as a specific asset, and then take that one, and it takes a little too long to hunt.
One thing I found funny is that every time I'd add a new expansion to my set, like I would store all the cards and stuff in bags, and then it'd always just be like, okay, well, this Mythos one is now too big for this bag, and so I would slowly be shifting bags around because the decks would get bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
On certain ones, it's like, okay, well, this big one is going to go to this one over here. I have to get a new bag for this over here, and just trying to make sure everything would actually fit. And so that's why I don't have names written on them, because
Except for like 6 that you do, and half of those 6 have the right thing in them, and the other half do not.
exactly,
Nice,
yes.
nice. Yeah, one thing that so I'm usually very pro sleeving cards. I would not sleeve this
Jesus
game.
Christ.
If you have it sleeved and you have several of the expansions in there, the item deck you will need multiple item decks because otherwise they will spill all over the table.
Yep.
Especially with the Fantasy Flight sleeves being as slippery as they are.
You'll also need
You
one
look
of
at it wrong, and it just topples
Yes,
over.
exactly.
You'll need one of those furniture truck carts to just haul the game around.
Exactly.
Because it's so heavy now from sleeves.
Yeah.
So with all the different, so how many gods are there in the base set?
4.
4?
Yes.
Have you played most of the 4? I have no idea which ones I've played and what sets they're
So
from.
the base ones are Azathoth, Shub-Niggurath, Cthulhu, and one that I'm not remembering.
Yig?
Yig?
Yig is the first expansion. Sorry, the first expansion that had an old one. Oh, Yog-Sothoth.
Ah, yes. The old Yog-Sothoth.
So do you guys feel like the different gods change much about the way the game is played?
Yes, I would say at least partially, because some of them feel a bit more like spell heavy ones.
Yeah.
Some are like the Black Goat one is very combat heavy. There's a lot of creatures, like a lot of monsters you have to fight.
I think it encourages you to pick have different characters when you're playing it. Is what they would do, because like some characters get spells really easily, and there might be. I think there's a great old one that punishes people with spells.
Yeah.
And there's another one that people need to have spells. So it might change who you play based on that.
Cthulhu is very water focused, so
Yes.
like the Sailor is a lot better there than certain other ones where like there's some that like reward the exploration tiles and stuff like that. So
Is that something that you feel like relatively new players would know that going in? Like they get Cthulhu and they're like, oh man, I should be the Sailor. I should like focus on water. Like, or is it just like a crapshoot where until you've played a bunch and you understand how the different old ones play?
It comes up pretty quickly on the card. It's not too hard to understand the ancient ones, like main focus.
Yeah, the card is pretty straightforward about explaining what's going to happen. So you could look at the Cthulhu one and see, well, does the Cthulhu one specific? I know it talks about there's Eldritch tokens that get placed down, and then if you go there, they delay you. Mm-hmm. So that would definitely lead you to pick the guy that cannot become delayed.
yeah.
But
And I always just kind of shuffle out, like, here's 2 or 3 guys, pick one. So it's always pretty random.
Yeah. It's
But the way these ancient ones change the game is much more significant than it was in Arkham Horror.
So the reason I ask is because for me, like, I haven't noticed that at all. Like, every game I've played of this feels exactly the same for me. And so, like, I didn't know, like, where you guys have played, like,
It depends on
either
the guy.
Eldritch specifically, like in your case, David, or Eldritch / Arkham in your case, Jeff. Like, and Zach, I mean, you've still played Eldritch more than I have. Like, I didn't know if you guys had gotten to a point where, like, you actually felt like the game felt different depending on what god there. Because to me, it's the same. You've got some terrible force that's just going to wreck your face.
well, I mean, that's a very broad statement.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you still do, like, I feel like I'm always still just doing the same thing. It's like if I feel capable of fighting, I'm going to a city where I can fight a monster. If I'm capable of closing a portal, I'm going where there's a portal. Like, otherwise, I'm running around in the wilderness, like, drawing cards and hoping for the best. Like, I don't know. I've never noticed much of a difference between the Elder Gods, but I've only played like 3 times.
Okay.
And I'm not entirely sure that they've all 3 been unique Elder Gods either.
I mean,
The clue deck is really what changes
Yes.
the majority of the encounters.
Yeah, because the clue deck is unique per Elder God.
Yep.
but
Which I love.
I would say
Yes.
that there are definitely some that probably seem more similar than others.
Yeah.
But like especially like the expansion ones, especially if they add different if they add the sideboards
or different mechanics
and stuff, those definitely feel more
So I've
different.
never played any of the ones that
Yeah.
add sideboards
So-
or things.
Yeah, so Yig adds poison. There's Ithaquah who has frostbite, or they're hypothermia, and those are those definitely change how the game is played, because like every reckoning you might get poisoned or you might get hypothermia, and those are effects that you have to keep track of.
But I wouldn't say it's game changing, but it's definitely different. There's a bit of difference to it.
In Arkham Horror, I don't think the gods really changed a whole lot from gameplay to gameplay. In this one, they do change a lot more just because of that unique god deck. The only thing in Arkham, in like a way later expansion, they added like a unique combat deck to each
Right.
god.
Yeah.
When it awoke, you would have like unique things that would happen. Azathoth didn't have one
Right.
because he just ate the
Yeah.
planet.
Right.
Yep.
But I
Yeah.
think this one has a lot more theme to each game. Like there was like a shit ton of poison in our last play. In Arkham you wouldn't notice a real big difference, except like the cultists would be different,
Right, yeah.
and maybe that's about it.
Okay.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Right on.
The Reckoning is something completely different.
I really like that they added.
Yes.
So in the Mythos phase, one of the Mythos cards, they each have a couple symbols on them. It's like, oh, it'll rotate the Omen track, and then it'll like Doom will be reduced depending on how many like gates are up that match that same symbol. So it's something you want to always keep track of, because you're like, oh god,
Yeah.
we need to get. There's 3 blue gates, and it's on red. So if the Omen track moves, we're going to get 3 Doom. So we want to try and close those up. But then there's also spawning new gates, monster surges, clue spawns. But then the Reckoning. Reckoning is basically a lot of different conditions and stuff it's like a red symbol that means something happens. Sometimes it's you have to you just like if you're poisoned, you just lose health every time. Sometimes it's like your back injury, and you have to do a strength roll, because if it's like your back injury gets super bad that if you fail, you have to flip that card, and you have to reckon with whatever happened to you. Or one of my favorites is debt, because the item track where you are trying, you can try and get new items. You can always just take debt to get 2 successes, and then
Additionally,
and then when the Reckoning happens, if you haven't got rid of it, it's like, oh, they've come to collect your deck. Sometimes it's they break your legs. Sometimes it's they kidnap you. Sometimes it's, oh, you need to sign a dark pact now.
sometimes those dark pact, like the Reckoning's going to happen. I need to get rid of this dark pact, or else.
Yep.
'Cause some of those are, I gave a bunch of info to these people and I didn't realize what was going to happen, and now choose another player and they're dead.
Yep.
Those can be really, really bad. But that is something new to me with Eldritch Horror that I enjoyed greatly.
Yeah, I also like that the monsters can have reckonings on them as well. So some of the harder monsters, like every time a reckoning comes, they might advance Doom, which will speed the game up and make you lose faster, or curse the lead investigator, or move towards somebody. Like there's the Hounds of Tyndaloose, I believe, will follow. They move towards whoever's closest, and they just
attack them.
Yep.
I do also have to say a lot of the art and stuff that is in this is straight up the exact same Arkham Horror art.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Fantasy Flight does that.
And Mansions of Madness uses a lot of the same art. Like I recognize this art from a lot of it. I recognize it from the Elder Sign app on my tablet.
But I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
They have all these games that use it saves on costs.
Yeah.
and it helps you feel connected to the universe.
Exactly,
Because it's
yeah.
supposed to be in like one universe.
Yeah.
True.
I know this is a cultist. I know this is a elder thing.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
this is a Chthonian.
Yep.
But a lot of the investigator art has changed, which I also noticed.
Yeah.
The
They're
art
pretty subtle changes, though.
Yeah.
I think the art, a lot of the investigator art between Eldritch and what I've seen so far of Arkham Horror LCG is similar.
I think most of the investigator art to me was new for the most part. Same people, but new art.
Yep. No, that's good.
No minis in this game though. I guess we could always throw in the Mansions of Madness
I had
minis.
thought about that at
Yeah.
some point.
Instead of using the
there's-
standees.
But there's so many, investigators in this. that
Yes.
I don't think there's a miniature for
No.
all of them.
This was like 5 expansions ago. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, I could use these,
Yeah.
and then just kept adding more and more. And I'm like,
Well, now
oh.
there's like 50 investigators.
Exactly, yeah.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
Until you die and you have to go through that entire fucking stack looking for your new
Yeah.
standee.
Arkham Horror had the same problem. Tons and tons of investigators. Good luck finding your right standee.
Yep.
Yeah. Anything else you guys wanted to cover for gameplay?
It sucks when the great old one awakens.
Yeah, don't let that happen.
Yeah, it's pretty much
The beginner god, they say, for the first time you play as Azathoth, and his is easy, and it's just like, and the world's devoured. All right, good job.
And it's over.
Yep.
Yeah.
But like when Cthulhu arises or Yig and all those, you're just like, oh god, it's even worse now.
One main difference I've noticed is when the Ancient One awakens, in Arkham Horror, it's just everyone gets one turn to prepare, and then it's just combat until you're dead or they're dead.
Okay.
This one, you get actually some time to prepare before. Do you even ever fight
Yes.
them?
Yes,
If
you
we
can.
if we would have gotten the third mystery solved, Yig would have come out.
Gotcha.
So it depends on each one too.
Yeah, if you straight up fight them or not.
Yeah.
You want to just not fight them
Yes.
No.
because that works best.
correct.
Something that's a little annoying is the variability and difficulty of the different mysteries.
Yes, some of them are ridiculous.
Some of them are just like you just have to go, you just have to spend 4 clues as many people as you're playing with, and other times it's you have to just defeat this epic monster, which they're harder, but is technically you could, if you got lucky with rolls and stuff, you could do it on the first turn. Other ones, like the one that we got, our third one was, you need to find an artifact first, and then when you find the artifact, you can choose to take this other artifact instead, and then you have to go to this space and spend extra clues, and then do these other couple things in order, and you're just like, son of a bitch.
Yeah. There's a lot of variable difficulty. It's all pretty difficult, but some of it's near impossible.
Yeah, and when it's that third one, when Yig is already awakened, and we're just like,
Yeah.
okay, well,
This is over.
yeah.
Yeah, pretty much every time I've played, if an old one awakens, you're just, all right, well, we got like 4 turns until game's over.
In Arkham Horror, I have defeated multiple old ones. It usually involved dynamite, but we made it through on a handful of occasions.
No, I had one that was particularly memorable where Cthulhu awoke. Everybody had died except for one guy, and he rolls in there, and he has to hit Cthulhu and manage to kill him right before Cthulhu was going to kill him, and it's just like, good. Fuck you. I don't want to play this one again.
Just one guy waiting on a dock with his fist.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. No, that was I don't know. It was like our third time attempting to beat Cthulhu,
Gotcha.
and it was I'm good.
Yeah. But that's where I think curating the Mythos deck could go a long way.
Yeah, well, the Mythos deck definitely. But the mysteries are you can't really. There's only 6 of them.
No, but the Mythos deck and just having the right amount of easy-ish cards, medium cards.
Oh yeah. No, the tentacle ones are.
Because we had a lot that were just strip all your items away, and then strip all your items away, and then strip all your items away on multiple occasions, and it was. I think that was just too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on. So, final thoughts?
I really like this game. It's the first time I played it. If don't be surprised, but I tend to like these long, thematic, story-driven-esque games. And this one may not have as much of a cohesive story throughout, in A, B, C, D, but it has a bunch of little thematic things that happen here and there, and then especially when you're able to connect them, those are great.
Yes.
I just love the idea of the fact that I was an orphan, and the first thing I tried to do was sneak past some cultists, and they're like, aha! And they just beat the shit out of her.
Yep.
You killed her, and then it was just like, well, that didn't work out well. Let's see what I can do next. I like dice. I am fine with roll and resolve as long as you give ways to mitigate it in some respect, because there are ways you have clues to re-roll. You have focus to reroll. You have certain abilities that you want to play to your strengths in this game. If your strength is 1, don't go attacking anything. That's just why. That's stupid.
Yeah.
And then obviously there'll be times when you have to roll, you have an encounter and you have to test strength. You can't not do it. And you're just like, well, this is probably going to suck for me.
At least I get to roll 1 die.
Yeah, you get to roll 1 die, and the game is already weighted against you in the sense that when you're normally rolling, it's only a 5 or a 6 is a success. So already you have less than a 50% chance. And I think as long as you can embrace the chaos of these types of games and you know that it's not really in your control, which I think mirrors the theme really well of you're just trying to survive, I think you can have a lot of fun in this game.
Right on. So for me, we'll let Jeff and David, who are also going to be positive, end this. So for me, I don't, as much as I joke that I hate dice, I would agree if they were truly like mitigatable, I wouldn't have as much problem. But like, I don't consider just re-rolling, especially when you already have a less than 50% chance on any given die. Re-rolling is not enough mitigation for me. It still ends up being like, well, you're just screwed. And especially where there's cards that'll regularly come up where like, oh, you are playing the character who has like really poor strength. Well, here's a strength check that you don't know about until you're doing it. Like, you don't have any way to avoid it. You don't have any way to, and then once it happens, like, yeah, you can re-roll, but you have a less than 50% chance to start. A re-roll is not going to help you much. That's very frustrating to me from a gameplay, like, mechanic side of things. Furthermore, I've mentioned before, I don't care for Cthulhu's mythos. Like, the Cthulhu mythology just does nothing for me. Especially, like, part of that, I don't know, because I love zombies, and zombies are super oversaturated, so I can't say that it's because Cthulhu is oversaturated that I don't like Cthulhu. I just think that a lot of times it seems like an excuse to make a game that beats up on you and then be like, oh, it's just Cthulhu. That's just what happens, which frustrates me. Like, I love Mansions of Madness. I really enjoy that one. And that one I can get more into, like, there's more story there to actually pull me in and make me feel connected. And I don't know if I've heard some people think that Arkham's better for this, Jeff, and maybe you can address this like during your final thoughts here. But like for Eldritch, like it's the whole world, and like it feels like you're just always just romping around the world. You're very disconnected from the other players. Like, yeah, you can make like little individual things, like your orphan getting beat up by the cultists. Like you can make like a cool little like one story in a self-contained instance. But it doesn't. I don't feel connected to any overarching story when I play Eldritch. It just feels like I'm doing a bunch of stuff and then we all die, which isn't nearly as fun for
as
me.
is life.
I mean, like that happens all the time in Mansions too. But at least Mansions, I feel like there's a story progression.
No,
like
Mansions definitely has is much more story focused.
Yes, yeah. This is another one of those kind of like, I don't remember what we were talking about earlier in the Banter episode. Like, it's a game where I can't necessarily. There's nothing. Tiny Epic. It's like there's nothing I can point at in this game. Well, except for the dice randomness stuff. Like, I actively dislike that as a gameplay mechanic. I think that's a bad mechanic. I don't think of it. I can't think of a better way to do it in this particular game, which is why I just don't like this game. But overall, like, I don't think it's a bad game. I understand why some people do really enjoy this game. It's just definitely it's got so many things that are like, what does Adrian not like? Let's put all of this into one game,
right?
And that's Eldritch Horror. It would only be worse if it was unbalanced, like Cosmic Encounter or something. So I'm not a huge fan. I'm still willing to occasionally play it. Like, it's not even one where even after, now that we're done reviewing it, I don't have to play it. I still, kind of like you, and I feel like Dominant Species. You're like, oh, if you give me enough warning and I know what I'm going into, I can really
drink enough, and then I will be able to.
I can really get in the right state of mind to like still play it and not just be miserable and bring down the entire experience for everyone else. But it's also never going to be a game where I'm like, dude, guys, we should get together and play Eldritch.
Do you think you would ever play it like outside of our group?
No.
Okay. So it'd be in the same sort of way, like Indonesia style, where it's just like because you're playing with our group and stuff like that, it can make it more tolerable, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like, well, so I say not outside of our group. I wouldn't play with like unless I knew the people I was playing with and knew that they were the kind of people who would make a game like this fun. Like, I can still have fun, like when you get really giggly about your orphan being punched to death. Like, it doesn't affect me or beat to death. You're killed by a bunch of cultists, whatever. Yep. You know, and like the way that we can all like the group reactions we get when like an old one does awaken and we're like, oh, well, we're all fucked.
Yep.
Everything's fucked. We're all dead. You know, those are the situations, and that's the reaction, like the group play kind of reaction that allows me to still have fun with a game that I don't enjoy the game. Right. I enjoy playing with my friends.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
I can respect that.
Yep.
So I'm probably the only one that's played a lot of Arkham Horror. It's how many of you have played Arkham? 0, 0, 0.
Bagel.
So a lot of my points going to be pretty much compare from like Arkham Horror 1 to Arkham Horror 2,
Yeah, that's
aka
fine.
Eldritch Horror. I don't like the characters as much in Eldritch Horror. In Arkham Horror, where like Adrian came up with like, these are your stats, and you could just get thrown like a stat check that you have no idea. In Arkham Horror, you had sliders that you could make things better or worse in like 2 stats. Like your movement would get worse, but your agility would get better. And you could use like focus to kind of shuffle those around every turn. So if you knew you were going to go into a portal, you could get your lore up, but your will might go down. I don't remember the exact shuffled stats things, but I miss that in this game. It's just like each character has like, these are your stats. You can modify them slightly and get them better, or with the expansions worse. The portals aren't as important. That's just sort of like, these are where the monsters come from, so we should close those. In Arkham Horror, that was like the objective of the game. Like, seal this many portals and you win. I do like the mystery deck more than that, but I miss the portal emphasis in Eldritch Horror. You can still go in them and some cool stuff happens, but they're not like, oh, I closed portals and what do we get out of that? I don't know. Monsters don't come out of them anymore. Oh, thanks.
One of my favorite things in the portals is there's somewhere you can go to the past or the future. It's like you go into the past and you encounter yourself as a shotgun and he shoots at you.
Like, oh God, it's my clone. Clearly, I need to murder this thing.
Yep. And if you fail, you take 5 points of damage.
Yeah.
You shot yourself in the past.
Yep. No, it's your past shooting you.
Yeah. Again.
I thought that was. I feel like that one was your dad. Like you show up in your childhood closet and your dad shoots.
That's
you.
what it was. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Oh shit! My dad shot me. The monster emphasis in this game isn't as much as Arkham. Not that that's a big deal, but it was cool. Like just fighting there was a lot more combat and fighting and stuff in Arkham. But I think the overall difference from game to game, depending on the ancient one in Eldritch, is far more significant because of the clue events. Mm-hmm. The game feels more molded around those ancient ones than in Arkham. But it's hard to say which one I love more. But I probably just have a lot of nostalgia around Arkham Horror.
What about time-wise? Like, how long does a game of Arkham go versus Eldritch?
It's probably pretty similar.
Okay. I wouldn't count the last one we played just because UFC was also happening.
You have to
during
watch
that.
people beat each other to death while we beat each other to death. So
The UFC made that so much more enjoyable for me.
there are a lot less fiddly card stuff in Arkham than in Eldritch. But I mean, there are 9 different stacks of encounter cards. But
You mean the other way around. There's less fiddly in Eldritch than in Arkham.
no, because I mean there are 9 different card stacks, but it's just table space. Like I know I need to draw from the white stack because I'm in the area with all the white areas. I know I need to draw from the common item deck. I need to know I draw from the unique item deck. I don't need to go in and look for a unique asset or a unique ally or whatever and just kind of shuffle through that deck the whole time. I know I need a spell. Here's the spell deck and not 3 different spell decks. But so with some pre-organization stuff to the game, that can be mitigated a lot. The only other thing I don't like is how you get new items in.
Just the influence one?
Yeah, the influence, like you die roll for items.
That's real annoying.
Arkham was just cash money. Like, I need $9. I have $9. I buy this item. A lot of times it was random draw which ones you could buy from, but that's another little, I don't know. He's getting down to like little nitpicky stuff, but I like Eldritch Horror more, but I like a lot of stuff that Arkham does too. But one game's from 2000, I think Origins 2005 is when Arkham Horror was first shown.
Yeah.
This is definitely a more modern, easier game to learn. But both are good, but buy Eldritch because I don't think... You can still buy Arkham out there, but...
Oh, yeah, it's around.
But Eldritch, I think, overall is a better game.
Arkham's listed as a 2005 release, so probably 2004 is when it debuted.
Yeah, the pictures I've seen were just from 2005 Origins.
I know that some people have said that Eldritch Horror, they think it's a better game, but if they felt like it lost a little something... Would you agree with that?
Yes, Definitely. It lost a little something. I think that little something was the amount of table space you need to play the game.
There.
All right, David, bring us home. What do you think about Eldritch Horror?
So I would say Eldritch Horror was probably the first game since getting into board gaming as more of a serious hobby. Is the first game that I would say that I loved. For me, if you listen to the Banter episode, you'll know that I am the opposite of Adrian in a lot of things, especially board games. But
Correct.
I hate zombies and I love the Cthulhu mythos. So for me, like the first time we played, it was either the first or second time we played, but I had just read The King in Yellow, and this card showed up that was directly from. It was like The Repairer of Reputations, which, if you're familiar with The King in Yellow, is a story in there. But there's a lot, if you've read a lot of Cthulhu mythos, or you're at least familiar with
Lovecraft.
Lovecraft at all. Like, there's a lot of the cards where they're just directly from, so you get this experience of, I remember where I was when I read that story, and it's really cool that it's now here in the game.
Fan service.
Yes.
Top to bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. If you like that, this game is for you. The other thing that I really like about this game is how much stuff there is to do. There's never been a game where I've done everything that there is. And a lot of the old ones might make you focus more on a specific area because, maybe you need to find an artifact, so you're going to go purposely do expeditions. But that's not a lot of games. Maybe I don't go try to find artifacts because that's not a thing that I need to do. So I like that, there's a lot there, even in the base game, that you're not going to hit on each play. So it rewards playing multiple times, and I feel like there's a lot of, even with the base game, I think you can get more than just the 4 plays of playing, each of the Elder Gods one time. Like, there's the expansions add new stuff, and I just really enjoy how much there is to the game, and I don't feel like if I come back and even if I'm playing an Elder God I've played before, I know that the game's not going to be the same because of what encounters we get or what gate events happen and how unlucky we are as far as my strength 1 character having to roll strength rolls all the time instead of influence, which they would be good at, and then our super high fighter character is always trying to make influence rolls and failing, right? So to me, I mean, I agree with Adrian a little bit that it doesn't feel as cohesive story wise, but I do feel like it rewards multiple plays, and you can make if you're willing to make your own stories per round, that makes it more enjoyable as a game as well.
What we really need to complete this review is play the 1987 version of Arkham Horror and see how that really compares against.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
There's a 1987 version of Arkham Horror.
Arkham Horror 2005 is actually a re-implementation of 1987 Arkham Horror.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, use that Patreon money, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm sure we can find a copy of that for a reasonable price.
Christ.
Yeah,
Is that just a roll-in move?
I don't think so because it
Okay.
actually uses a lot of the same iconography of Arkham Horror, gates, items, spells, etc.
Mm-hmm.
I have never played the 1987 version, but maybe someone at Gen Con will bring it that we can play.
It looks like the 1987 version of something.
Yes.
So one thing I did want to comment on is player count.
Oh, yeah.
I laughed at the beginning.
1 to 8
Cackles,
So
players.
it's 1 to 8. I will never play it with more than 5 ever, and 5 is still even pushing it. Like, for me, I feel that 4 is the sweet spot for this game. And
It is voted best at 4 on BGG.
If you play at an odd number of players, you're playing at the difficulty of the next even one up. So if you're playing with 3 players, you're playing at the difficulty of 4, so it just makes it harder.
Yeah, I would say 4 would be best, and I mean you could play it 2 and just have each player use 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the only one that has majority best is 4 at 75%.
Yeah.
5, 3, 2, and 1 are all recommended at roughly 60-ish. 7 and 8 are 84.5 and 84.7% do not recommend.
Yeah. I've played it as 6 players once. I think it was at your house, and that took...
No, I think we played at Ants, but I was there, and it took forever.
That's what it was. It took forever, and it has especially when people are reading their story, their encounters and stuff. The downtime can get pretty annoying, and so
Arkham was the exact same way.
especially if you get delayed because it's Fantasy Flight. You're going to be delayed,
Yes.
which means skip a turn. And
Enjoy everyone else playing this game for this round.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
And-
definitely 4 players is the way to go.
Yes, 4 players gives you just enough downtime to see what everybody's doing and not get bored with sitting there twiddling your thumbs.
Yeah, and this is definitely a game. Don't buy it and then immediately buy all the expansions.
Yes, do not do that.
There's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them, but I would say buy the base game and the first expansion,
Forsaken Lore.
play that for a little while, and then once you found it, then you can start getting more and more. Look at which ones seem more interesting to you. From what I've heard, the newest big box expansion, the Dreamlands, people like that one the best, and then the Pyramids one, and then Mountains of Madness after that.
Yeah. Which if you want to buy Eldritch Horror, that's pretty widely available for about $50. Amazon, Miniature Market, Cool Stuff, all of those places. I don't see anything for any of the expansions.
There's a new expansion that even just came out, so they are still supporting this game.
Yes.
Cities of Ruin. Unfortunately, we did not have access to that to be able to do this review, but it's on the list.
Yep. It's listed on eBay at about $26. Under the Pyramids is going for about $46.
Some are probably out of stock, but not quite out of print.
Yeah, I mean,
They'll probably do
They
the
keep
fancy
doing cycles of it.
Yeah,
And so.
cycles. Like I can still get Arkham Horror expansions on the right cycle. I think I'm missing one small box expansion still.
Right on. So that wraps up our review of Eldritch Horror. We had the Board Game Geek Guild post over on our guild number 2731. Got a couple responses. Zach, you want to read those?
Yeah, sure.
No. That's just all I want to hear.
John Cena.
Oh, God.
So Mike says, love this game, but I have such a hard time getting it to the table. There's a lot to teach and a lot of setup involved. It seems like it's ripe for upgrades. Is there anything you have upgraded that you would consider essential? Anything you really want to upgrade? I'd love to track down some of the cursed and blessed dice with the elder signs on them. Yes.
Yes,
100%
he
yes.
owns
Those
10
dice.
10 of each of those.
It comes in packs of 5, so that's why I bought 6 of them.
It's packs of 5 for like 5 for like the
$10.
blessed. 5
Yes.
for
Yes.
So you bought 2 packs of blessed, 2 packs of regular, and 2 packs of cursed.
Technically, I bought 2 packs of the bone dice instead of the regular ones are like black and green.
Yeah,
but I like
the bone looks
the
better.
bone looks a lot better.
Yes.
yeah.
Because the bones are white with black.
I think I had seen it's like green and black, like I don't know, Cthulhu colors.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Is
I was
there-
like, that feels a bit too much on the nose.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you would like to upgrade?
So some people have bought miniatures.
Yeah, I was gonna
of-
say you mentioned minis.
There's minis. Like they actually sell. Like I think they sold them for Arkham too. Like you can actually buy minis of the characters.
They were like $80.
Yes.
Yeah. Like for the minis.
Right.
It was insane.
Some people have like gate holders. It's like
Turns them vertical.
Yeah, it turns them vertical and it's like 3D printed and stuff like that. And they look like they have maybe tentacly things or something
Yeah,
like that.
it's sort of
I mean,
holds the...
Couldn't you just put the gates in one of the extra standees and have the gate stand
absolutely.
up that way too?
But then it wouldn't
It's
look
not
like
that's what the point.
Okay, well, I'm just
You're pimping out your game, not trying to just
put it
jury
vertically.
rig it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you could just try and balance it up.
Yeah. They had those same things for Arkham. Those same upgrades.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I would say the only thing you really need to add is better dice than those.
Yeah. So I've played with Zach's dice, which, you know, if you're willing to spend the money, they're gorgeous, and it's nice to just be like, oh, I know that I passed because it was this, not like it has the symbol.
Yeah.
They have 1 through 6, but like on the blessed eye, it'll have the elder sign on 4, 5, and 6, knowing that you succeeded.
I mean, you could even do like low rent version of those. Buy some blue dice, some red dice, and some white dice, and you just put the elder sign on the ones that correspond.
Yeah.
When I play with my other friends, we just bust out their copy of Farkle and steal dice from that.
Nice.
yeah. I mean, it sounds like from the base set, like just buying even just a set of regular dice is an upgrade over the dice that come in the game.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I would say an aftermarket insert is near mandatory.
Are there any good aftermarket inserts?
I would even say at this point, your best bet would probably be some sort of like standalone box to hold everything, because I have 2 boxes worth of stuff right now. 2 of the big boxes from the expansions, and if another big box comes out, I don't know if it's going to be able to hold everything in those 2. I might have to move to 3.
Just get one of those broken token, like all new box things for like $120.
Yeah. And then they add an expansion, and that thing doesn't fit in there. Hooray!
That's why I haven't bought a Scythe aftermarket insert.
That's why I
yet.
haven't bought one for Colonist yet.
Yeah.
I mean, I think with Eldritch, it seems like they're pretty committed to pumping stuff out. So any kind of aftermarket thing you buy will eventually, if you like the game and want to keep going, it's eventually not going to work.
Yeah,
So.
I have a Plano box to hold all the tokens and stuff. That one works pretty well.
Yes.
And then, I mean, you could get like those business card holder things to put the different decks in there. I know some people have gotten that, and that helps with.
I can see that.
Like table space as well. So.
I just want something to hold all of the different varieties of cards that
Yes.
you need to separate out.
One thing I love is that all of the different old ones have their own set of cards. So it's like, all right, I've got everything that we need for the game, and like 60% of the game is still in the box, not being used.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's one of the best things about the game.
Exactly.
Right on. Next on BGG.
Next, we have Matthew. Have you played any of the other games in the Arkham Horror Files series? And if so, have you enjoyed them? Said games are, of course, the Fantasy Flight version of Arkham Horror, Mansions of Madness, Elder Sign, and the living card game version of Arkham of Horror. I enjoy Elder Sign as it was my first. Don't see myself getting sick of the game thanks to all the different expansions out there, and I love chucking dice, even if those little jerks have ruined many a game for me. Though at least there is some luck mitigation, one that isn't that readily apparent when you first play the game. Secured/spell locked tentacles do not trigger terror effects. And I don't find Elder setup to be that much of a chore. Shuffling many decks of cards is actually easier than hand shuffling a bunch of stacks of tiles for a game of Superbia. So I've played all of those except for Arkham Horror.
I've played all of those.
And I like all of them with the condition on Elder Sign being with an expansion. Because at least I don't remember which one it was, but the game felt super light compared to these ones until you added one of the expansions in there.
Yeah, that was my experience as well. I've played everything except Arkham Horror. And when I played Elder Sign base game, and I just did not like it as much. I didn't get that same feel that I get from Eldritch or the Arkham Horror LCG or Mansions of Madness, like where I feel like I'm immersed in the Cthulhu mythos, and in Elder Sign it felt very pasted on with the base game.
Yeah.
I have also not played Arkham, and I've only played Elder Sign as the app on my phone, on my tablet, but it was okay. It's awfully random, especially because Elder Sign is just chuck a lot of dice the game. So I didn't super care for Elder Sign, but I can tolerate it like as an app game just to waste some time because I don't take those anywhere near as seriously as actually investing the time to set up on a table and sit down to play a game. I love Mansions of Madness. I really like the first edition with a keeper. I have come to enjoy the second edition just as a pure co-op game because the app is so well done for managing everything. And I don't remember what my ultimate review for Arkham Horror, the card game, was.
I think you would never buy it, but you would play it.
Yeah, and I find myself actually like I was listening to Date Night, which is the new little spinoff from the Boards Alive podcast, and they just covered Arkham Horror, the card game, and it kind of made me want to like sit down and play another the next campaign because I only did the base campaign for the review. I haven't done any of the new stuff that's come out, and kind of
It's a lot of
I could do that.
It's a lot of Mythos packs and 2 core sets that I need to buy.
Yeah, I have bought. I ordered all the Mythos packs all at once, and then I still haven't bought that Dunwich big
Horror.
box, but I need to.
That was the thing that started the.
Yeah. No, I mean that's the most important thing. I don't have it.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
I got to fill some gaps.
Yep.
right on.
I would go in my order of favorite: Eldritch, Arkham, LCG, Mansions, Elder Sign.
Mansion's your second least favorite?
It's kind of a tie between Mansions and LCG,
Oh, okay.
but Elder's in a distant fifth.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah.
They're kind of
Sign.
a tie for third, but then it's,
Then it's nothing, and then it's Elder Sign.
I like Elder Sign, but I have also never played with that expansion that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the app version that I have has any of the expansions either. It's just the base game.
And let's all remember when Arkham Horror, after all of the expansions came out, 3 big box, 4 small box, released an expansion that was just a card expansion for all of the expansions.
So
the
if
Miskatonic University expansion.
So if Elder Sign does that, or not Elder Sign, Eldritch Horror does that, then we know they'll be done.
Yes. It was an expansion that just expanded all of the expansions.
Wow.
It was nothing but cards.
Nice.
It was fantastic.
I've seen some pictures of Arkham set up with everything, and yeah, it takes up just so much space.
I have played that once
Fuck that. I'll
Yep.
never do that.
with literally everything.
I thought they said I thought the wisdom was one big box, two small boxes.
Indeed.
Yeah.
We went against wisdom. There is a rule for lowering difficulty depending on how many expansions you have. You would lower the player count on every big board expansion you have beyond 1. So if we played with 6 players and all 3 expansions, we would play with a difficulty of 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're done. Yeah, I think that pretty much concludes everything we've got for Eldritch Horror. Any final thoughts from you guys? Last idea? Anything? No.
We're all just going insane.
Yes, which is what happens when you deal with Cthulhu. If you would like to get a hold of us, you can email us.
Emails at milehighgameguys.com.
You can get a hold of us on Twitter. I tweet under @MHGameGuys.
I am Zach _MHGG.
And I'm Jeff _MHGG.
And I still don't use Twitter.
He exists. Good luck finding him.
Quite all right. You can jump over to our Board Game Geek Guild number 2731, where every once in a while Zach actually posts the thread in a timely manner.
Yeah, and then I was sick. That's the
I'm just saying that
Yeah.
sometimes you post in a timely manner.
sometimes if I feel up for it /care.
You can also, if you have thoughts over a game that we just reviewed, in this case Eldritch Horror, you can jump over to the thread for that and leave some updated thoughts that we will talk about next episode. And
Zach puts effort into these BGG posts.
He does. They're
Everyone
good
should
posts.
read these.
you should at least go read them.
Yeah. And then not
Yeah.
interact with us at all.
Well, you can interact with Zach and Jeff. Don't interact with Adrian.
No.
Well, especially not about Eldritch. You can interact with me about Splatter and Vital Lacerda games and Juve games and all the good games that are fun to play.
What are we reviewing next week?
Next week, instead of a normal full game review, we are going to do a Gen Con preview episode, since that will come out the Friday before we leave for Gen Con. So that way you guys can get an idea of some of the things we're looking forward to checking out at Gen Con, games that are coming out that we're interested in, stuff we are looking forward to doing. There's going to be a Punchboard Media meetup. We're going to play some Pandepic.
I'm gonna sweat to death.
We are going to spend entirely too much money in the vendor hall. We're going to drink.
I'll just open up a new credit card. We'll be good to go.
We're going to drink just so much beer.
Yeah, I haven't heard the beer supply yet this year. We should get with Ant knowing what.
Well, knowing Ant, it's going to be like 24 cases of Escape.
Probably a lot of Los Locos.
A fair amount of Los Locos, maybe a little bit of Tart and Juicy.
Yeah. Oh.
Lil
Hard
Raz.
A lot of bombers. We got to trade.
Double Skull.
Yeah, we got to trade our way across the country with other breweries. I think the first year we went, we may have taken 55 gallons of beer across state lines.
Can't have audio records of such things.
We took a personal usage amount of beer across state lines to Indianapolis. We're going to go to Sun King again this year as well. Only Ant and I went last year, so maybe some more people will join us.
No, this year definitely going to go.
Yeah, definitely go.
They do a Gen Con beer. They had a Gen Con themed beer.
Well, and I'm actually looking.
I think the official beer sponsor.
Yes.
Yeah, they are.
Yes.
They have been for a few years, and I'm looking forward to. So it's looking increasingly like I might go out a little bit ahead of you guys. In which case, if I'm there Wednesday, I'll be able to go to the actual release party for that beer at Sun King and meet up with Jake and Danielle from Draft Mechanic.
Awesome.
Which is an awesome podcast about board games and beer, which are basically two of my favorite things.
Right.
So
Yeah.
board games, beer, and being shit on by my friends. Those are my 3 favorite things.
We will help you with at least one of those things.
So that's going to be next week. We'll go over a bunch of Gen Con stuff.
And maybe a surprise.
Yeah.
And if that surprise doesn't follow through, pretend I said there may have been a surprise.
Yeah, we're waiting on something to come in the mail. If it comes in time, then we'll have a neat little surprise for you guys. Otherwise, we won't. So,
Yep.
All right. I think that wraps everything up. As always, I've been your host, Adrian.
I'm still Zach.
And I'm Insanity Jeff.
And
I'm still David.
Oh, shit. for a lot of Fantasy Flight heavily thematic, longer games.
Zach. Anyway.
I had it on mute, and then
John Cena.
John Cena said it.
God damn it.
Punchboard Media,
where we all
bring something
to the table.
Pull up a chair
at punchboardmedia.com.